So most people don't understand that there's a thing called united we stand, divided we fall. Whether you're black, white, yellow, green, blue, purple, Asian, Hispanic, Latino, or whatever you want to call it. If you're poor, all of us are poor people. And that's a difference. Majority of the people that live in the United States of America are poor people. And they have been very, very effective over the decades by dividing the American people along race lines. And the white people are always voting against their own interests. Now we see that they are crying out because they realize that racism is not only a system, but it works against them because it's all about picking your pockets. But now we see now in 2025 where Donald Trump, a leopard never changed its spots. You have to understand that. So Donald Trump, I'm sure, is, once a racist, always a racist. Donald Trump executive order on America's deep-rooted white supremacy. Donald Trump, you're going to see a video with Anderson Cooper, where Donald Trump executive order seeking to welcome Afrikaners from South Africa into the United States. It is not new or surprising development. This move simply is to tell other people, you're not welcome here. But guess what? Remember, Donald Trump's parents came here as illegal immigrants. And now he's the president of the United States. We have a few more years left. Because whether or not Donald Trump wants to believe it, he will die one day. And when he die, maybe they'll have to cremate him because people will be stoning his hearse with egg the same way that they did King Leopold II because of his racist. Same for Elon Musk, Peter Thiel and the others, South Africans. So this move is simple, another example of long-standing traditional of racial preference embedded within America's immigration policies, reinforcing white supremacy while systematically oppressing black people. So everything I'm doing in America is always skewed towards black people. To fully understand Trump's actions, one must first acknowledge the undeniable truth. America was built on racism and terrorism, specifically targeting one race of people, black people. From the transatlantic slave trade to Jim Crow laws, from redlining to mass incarceration, the United States has continuously upheld institutions and policies designed to subjugate and exploit black communities. The only way black people can escape, and although them do it, is education, but black people can create their own economy without spending money with them white counterparts who hate them. As in 2025, start boycotting all of these companies and stores that don't want black people around them. So despite the so-called progress of the civil rights movements, the reality remains unchanged. Black Americans continue to face systemic racism in every aspect of life: education, healthcare, housing, and the criminal justice system. The wealth gap between the white and blacks is not an accident, but the direct result of centuries of calculated economic oppression. Trump legacies, white supremacies, and favoring the Afrikaners. The Afrikaners, them tell Trump, give him the middle finger and tell himself, them don't want to come to America because them say America a dump. Can you believe it? That was an insult that people in Africa tell our American president, say, stuff it up. As that goes to show you that it's not every white people racist as Donald Trump and his acolytes. So Trump desire to prioritize Afrikaner white minority group in South Africa further exposes a racial bias ingrained in America's immigration policies. Historically, the US has welcomed European immigrants with open arms while making it increasingly difficult for black and brown immigrants to gain entry. This executive order is a continuation of that trend, a deliberate effort to preserve and increase the white population while ensuring black and non-white communities remain marginalized. In this country, in the United States of America, they said the Hispanic people is going to be a minority will become the dominant. So that's why all of these draconian things. Remember, the white men them in America and the white women them, man asleep with man, woman asleep with woman, so them now reproduce. You can't blame other race of people at them. Them love them same. They are the one that fight. Anything what white people want in America, them get it. Them fight so them want same-sex marriage, them get it. You understand? Now it's just two group of billionaires control this country. Whether or not you want to believe it. So when poor people vote, you just get pit and salt out. Because we see the other day in a Congress, even in spite of everything that Donald Trump is doing, we see the Republican were voting say, men not supposed to compete in a women's sport. I must say 12 Democrat vote for it. That is just common sense. So when people say all of these things, they realize that these people don't care for we, because all of these madness where man can be woman and all of these things, they are made up thing. They are fairy tale business. And that's how we have the problem. This social engineering and try to change people thoughts and tell us up is down and down is up. People all can do that. And children now, based on the economy and how things are in America, children now have children because children still live with them parents. It's harder now because of the same people them in a Congress. Remember, said them same one controlled by the billionaire class. So when people vote, you know, vote for you, although you have vote for your candidate, you have vote for them donors. So that's how you go. So that's why some people don't participate. So them say anything because it doesn't matter what I do, but it won't benefit me at all. So consider the hypocrisy. While Trump sought to restrict immigration from predominantly black and brown nations through its infamous Muslim ban and police policies targeting Central American asylum seekers, he simultaneously advocated for white South Africans to receive preferential treatment. This is not about humanitarian concern. It's about racial preservation and catering to the white nationalist base that has always fueled Trump's political success. Many people, like the Afrikaners, that the Americans have evolved past its racist roots, but the facts suggest otherwise. Police brutality continues disproportionately affect black Americans. What the police must realize now that blacks are not their enemies. It's not blacks that attacked the Capitol on January 6th and killed their colleagues and caused some of them to commit suicide. It was white people. So if you understand why enemy black people now hurt police, you understand? So voting rights are under attack in black majority districts. Economic opportunity remain disproportionately inaccessible. The justice system is still rigged against black people, and racist policies are disguised under the banner of law and order. Trump's actions, whether through immigration policies or racial rhetoric, are just modern iteration of the old strategies used to maintain white dominance. His decision to favor Afrikaners over black South Africans or other marginalized group is a calculated move that aligns with racist foundations of the country he led. The call for action, exposing and dismantling the system, it's crucial to recognize Trump is not an anomaly, is a symptom of a deeply ingrained racial hierarchy that existed in America for centuries. Until we collectively dismantle the institutions that uphold white supremacy, policies like Trump executive order will continue to emerge in different forms, perpetuating the cycle of racial oppression. The fight against racism in America is far from over. It just starts again. We must continue to call out these injustices, educate future generations about realities of systemic racism, and actively work towards policies that promote true racial equity. You know, right now, them have a thing when them get rid of DEI. We don't expect the court to rule in favor of DEI. We expect the court to rule again because the court itself, they are controlled by the billionaire class and they are racist too. You have six racists at the Supreme Court, and then you have 3 we are mad people. With them, anything when them tell us up is down and down is up. This world is going to hell. So the fight against racism in America is far from over, whether or not you want to believe it. You know, racism is a systemic system. American history of racism is not a relic of the past. It's a living, breathing force that continues to shape the present. And unless we confront it head on, the cycle will never be broken. So we wanted to listen to what Anderson Cooper is saying about Donald Trump's actions when it comes on to whites, Afrikaners, So you watch, you listen, and you decide.
With all these efforts to get rid of Central and South Americans and now Haitians, there's one group of foreigners the president has, out of the blue, decided to invite to move here: white South Africans, in particular Afrikaners. He actually signed an executive order promoting, quote, the resettlement of Afrikaner refugees escaping government-sponsored race-based discrimination, including racially discriminatory property confiscation. He wants white Afrikaners here. It's too long to try to get into the history of South Africa's apartheid regime, but it's at the very least an interesting group to make special welcome to. Anyway, whatever you may think of the president's policy choices on immigration, his priorities, or the morality of it, there's simply no denying that he is making a production of it, literally.
Here in New York City this morning, we are getting the dirt bags off these streets.
That is DHS Secretary Noam late last month taking part in migrant arrests in New York, one of several high-profile enforcement actions she and other top officials have appeared at and documented heavily. The administration has also made a big show of using military aircraft for deportation flights, even though it costs more than the traditional civilian flights, and loudly began sending deportees to Guantanamo Bay, some before quietly removing some this week. The White House this week even turned the deportation process into a kind of viral video, posting on social media something entitled, quote, hashtag ASMR illegal alien deportation flight. By the way, ASMR videos use sounds to trigger emotional states and are generally supposed to be soothing. Hard to see what's soothing about shackles, but so be it. Taste and, again, morality aside, it all seems part of how the administration signals it is all in on the problem. They have even gone so far as to spark a Justice Department rebellion by trying to drop corruption charges against New York's mayor in the name of furthering the president's immigration policy, and then after that, prodding him about it on national television.
If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City, and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to?
Well, the bottom line, so to speak, is that in almost every way possible, the administration has made an enormous public show of its toughness on immigration, both lawful and unlawful, some of which may actually be useful if those images are seen in South and Central America and elsewhere and deter migrants from coming here illegally without following the rules. But that remains to be seen. What is clear is that for all the show and all the orders, when it comes to doing what it promised, the administration, by its own lights, is coming up short. It is worth noting that with all these efforts to get rid of Central and South Americans and now Haitians, there's one group of foreigners the president has, out of the blue, decided to invite to move here: white South Africans, in particular Afrikaners. He actually signed an executive order promoting, quote, the resettlement of Afrikaner refugees escaping government-sponsored race-based discrimination, including racially discriminatory property confiscation. He wants white Afrikaners here. It's too long to try to get into the history of South Africa's apartheid regime, but it's at the very least an interesting group to make special welcome to. Anyway, whatever you...
Yeah, so this is the world that we're living in 2025, where racism is no longer hiding its ugly and it's showing, in America and for the world. And we have seen something happen today in America what never happened before, where America sided with communist countries, Russia and China. And we haven't heard peeps from the Republicans in Congress or in the Senate. So basically, they want America to go along the communist route. But let's see, when the same people, the same ones who rise up January 6, 2021, when they realize that their rights are about to be taken away, we know that the police won't be standing there with them to defend the politicians, the one that chastise the police and support the terrorists. They won't be there to defend them. We know that the police will leave the politicians on their own. And that will be such a fitting gesture by them, because if you, your colleague, have given their lives for them, and then to see their president pardon cop killers, and they tell you about law and order. What law and order? It's law and disorder. Anytime you have a system that is built on lies and criminality, we can tell you that. Just be prepared for lawlessness to reign. That's when you know that the wires have been tripped and the explosion. Just prepare for the fire that is coming. Have yourself a beautiful day.